The air is getting worse and people are feeling it in their bodies before they see it on any chart. Morning walks have stopped, kids are coughing more, and healthy people say breathing feels heavy. Every year we talk about the AQI spike, restrictions come in and then we move on. But the damage doesn't pause. Long exposure to polluted air is now linked to respiratory illness, heart problems and weaker immunity. Doctors are seeing it, families are living it. One person who's been consistently raising this issue is Coutinho, not just on social media, but in courtrooms and policy conversations as well. He's filed a PIL, he's also written to the Prime Minister and keeps saying the one thing that we hear every now and then: no lifestyle change can fully protect you from toxic air. He joins us live to take this conversation forward, to talk about the health cost of this pollution crisis, what it means for everyday Indians, and what realistically can and cannot help when the air itself is unsafe. Luke, thank you so much. Good morning for joining us here on the Breakfast Club. It's not been a great morning for many of us, especially those residing in Delhi NCR. But tell us, Luke, of the conversations you've had, of the patterns you've witnessed, are we beginning to treat air pollution as a seasonal inconvenience? Have we truly woken up to the reality? We keep saying, oh my God, look around. But do you think that's becoming a chorus on repeat with no real change on ground?
Yeah, thanks for having me here. Absolutely. And that's my biggest fear. You see, we can have problems, but we have to have a plan that leads towards a solution. What I feel is happening now is it's getting normalized. And I think everything's getting delayed. And the whole thing is that the government, the environment department, and the people are not on the same page. Everything is just actually being pushed till March, where the air will clear, and then we'll have a couple of months of great air. Everything will be forgotten, and then we'll go through this next year again. You know, I think our biggest disability right now is normalizing things and accepting it too easily, not understanding the extent of damage it's doing to, babies that are in wombs right now, senior citizens, and every single person who has to breathe in toxic air. And that's a huge concern, that people are just accepting this and people are challenging what the doctors are saying. There are reports saying that, air pollution has nothing to do with lung cancer, air pollution has nothing to do with disease. And that's the point. Where is this going to lead to if people are even ignoring what top doctors across, not just India, across the world, are saying and even proving through science the impact of toxic air on all of us at this moment?
Yeah, because, before asking questions, posing questions to those who are in charge, we must ask these questions to ourselves as well. Luke, some people, and I say this because some people in particular are still going out for walks. We see those images every now and then. Some are still smoking. What are they not realizing is happening to their bodies when they expose their bodies and their lungs to this kind of air?
See, it's pretty simple if I have to make it really, really simple, because a lot of people talk about cancer, respiratory problems, and it's all right. But all of these conditions arrive from DNA that gets corrupt. Every time we have exposure to toxic air, our DNA is corrupting. All disease is born from a cell. Every cancer is born from a cell. Every respiratory problem, every fluctuation of disease is born from a cell, which starts off from your DNA programming going wrong. And that's what toxic air is doing. It's affecting every one of your trillions of cells. Now, when you're working out, you always breathe heavier. You're running, you're walking, which means your heart-lung capacity is working at optimum. You're taking in more of the toxic air, and your body's struggling to filter that out. It never filters it out completely, because none of us really breathe the full way. When we sit down to do pranayama, we take complete inhales and complete exhales. That's how we should be breathing. So all of this is now accumulating, leading to systemic inflammation, and you have DNA corruption. It's a perfect disaster for deadly diseases. So people have to realize, but I want to be fair over here. People are also fed up. They'd rather just go out and get a walk for their mental health, and they're like, whatever has to happen, happens. I spoke to an 82-year-old man who doesn't miss his walks, and he's walking in polluted areas as well, Delhi and Mumbai. And he said, hey, if I have to die, I have to die, but enough is enough. No one's going to solve the problem. I just want to go for a walk and feel happy. I see both sides of the story. It's sad that our country can't provide the three basics that every human being requires, which is clean air, clean food, and clean water.
And unfortunately, it shouldn't come down to any of this, Luke, and that's why we're having this conversation. So what can we do, Luke? You've been pushing out a list of do's and don'ts in terms of diet, in terms of daily routine, supplements as well. So first give us a lowdown. Quickly tell us what foods rich in antioxidants to help go better with polluted air. First, explain the story to us.
Yeah, I want, before I even get into that, I just want to say that, sometimes we feel like a fraud even saying this because it's minimal, but it's something better than nothing. Okay. So if we have to start with looking at food in the Indian diet, what damages the DNA and what fixes it? Folates. Indians are lucky if we are actually following a traditional diet. Our rice and dal, our rajma and rice, our legumes, lentils, dal chawal, these are rich in folates. Folates are one of the most powerful nutrients to repair DNA. And then we have our cruciferous vegetable family, which is fantastic when it comes to immunity, DNA repair, and keeping inflammation low. So I'm talking about our cauliflower, I'm talking about our cabbage, I'm talking about our radish, I'm talking about your broccoli and kale if you want to move to that level. All of your crucifers, we should be getting about 50 grams to 75 grams. That's a serving every single day, along with some lentils and legumes. Then we have our nuts and seeds because we need healthy fats. We need omega-3s, which are very powerful when it comes to inflammation. So we're looking at our almonds, we're looking at our walnuts, we're looking at our chia seeds, we're looking at fatty fish if you're non-vegetarian. So we're looking at these food groups. We're also looking at protein because protein is a building block of every cell, including damaged cells. I'm not talking about the high protein, hyped up diets that is also messing up India. I'm talking about adequate protein. Look at your plate. Do you have protein at every meal? Just try to increase that a little bit. I think the one thing that we can really avoid are things that, cause inflammation to really spread, and that's your junk and ultra-processed food. So at times like this, when the toxic burden is heavy because of the air, we want to try to reduce the burden by cutting out junk and ultra-processed food. We really want to cut down or stop alcohol and, of course, smoking. Stopping that and vaping is a huge relief to the body when it comes to the burden of, other carcinogens that are present. So these are simple things that we can do. When we look at fruits, we have our own Indian superfoods, which are way more powerful than most supplements. We're talking about the amla, the Indian gooseberry. We're talking about, they call it a poor man's fruit, but I call it, I always say the poor man's rich to eat that, guavas. What a beautiful source of vitamin C, so powerful for our immune systems. We don't need all the fancy fruits that exist in our country right now. We need fruits that are local, seasonal. Pomegranate, fantastic, because toxic air is affecting our gut microbiome. Pomegranate is a fruit that's great for you, and then having your fermented foods that improve your gut health, and because your gut health improves, your immune system gets smarter and stronger. So you're looking at your fermented foods, your rice kanjis, your beetroot, your your carrot kvass that you make during the season, your yogurts, your simple homemade curds. So we're looking at simple foods, but over and above foods, your exercise is also important because that drives blood circulation and natural detoxification. So if you can't work out at home, outside, work out at home. Walk around your home, do some push-ups, do some jumping jacks, get that body moving.
With your air purifiers on.
With your air purifiers on, it's sad that we have to even talk about this today. Today, I make direct statements to women, and families who say, hey, Luke, we're planning to have a baby. I'm like, hey, listen, let's talk about this plan for your baby even a little bit later, because we got to be fair to what they're bringing into the world right now. It's not healthy to have a baby at this point when your air is corrupt and it's corrupting your DNA. So, sleep is extremely important because that's where all the healing happens. That's where all the detoxification happens. That's where your immune system is going to regulate. That's where inflammation is going to come down. So deep sleep is a powerful drug, especially when we have toxic and chemical burden around us.
Luke, you spoke of a few superfoods, and the thing with items like amla is it takes a little bit of preparation, and we all love excuses, don't we? So on a busy 9 to 5 kind of a working day, so for working professionals or for new moms or for anyone who's got their hands full, what's the bare minimum? If you could give us a cheat sheet that they can follow to minimize the impact of polluted air. Because you've given us a whole big list, but it just sounds very intimidating.
Yeah. So the point is, I think all Indians have to change their mindset. Most Indians are spoiled for instant gratification, convenience, and they want things quick. And that's what's actually made our country really, really unhealthy at this particular point. Everyone's searching for shortcuts. How long does it take to wash an amla? And if you don't want to juice it, take a bite of it. Okay, but people will say, oh, it doesn't taste good. So some company will now make you candied amla with sugar and honey, and that's why we have diabetes in our country. The point is, if you can't do that, you can do a guava. So I'm saying wake up in the morning, okay, if it suits you, because I'm just giving you information. Have a nice warm glass of lemon water. Lemon is a rich source of vitamin C. If it doesn't suit you, don't do it. Okay, get your fats first. Have your nuts. Have your nuts, your walnuts, your seeds, your pumpkin seeds. Simple. It takes you 2 minutes to soak it overnight, and it takes you less than 4 minutes to eat it mindfully. Then you have your normal breakfast. Look at your plate. There should be some protein, some quality carbs, and your right amount of fats. We need to build these things into our diet. Like you rightly said, India is filled with excuses. They have time for hatred online. They have time to pull down one another. They have time to follow the wrong content, but they don't have time for their own health. And then look at your plates. Choose one cruciferous vegetable every day. So today I'll have cauliflower. Tomorrow I'll have cabbage. Day after I may have radish. The next day I may have broccoli. If you sit down and you plan on a Sunday what your weekly menu is going to do, execution becomes way, way, way simpler. Now, your exercise, you got to plan in 30 minutes. I'm not saying 1 hour. If you don't have 30 minutes, do 15 minutes. 15 minutes is better than nothing. You got to plan your sleep time. If you can plan your Netflix and your OTT time, you can plan your sleep time. And then the most important thing is limiting exposure is the most powerful thing, more powerful than all the tips I gave you. So wear a mask if you're outside, put your purifiers on, and if you don't need to be outside, don't be outside. And that's why it's my plea to the government. We could do a lockdown during COVID for a virus that was killing people instantly. People don't understand that we need the same kind of thing. I know it'll affect many lives and economy, but the death we're seeing right now is not instant, but it is going to happen. There is going to be slow death and slow suffering because of the toxic air that is poisoning people every single day. The government has to be on a war footing to solve this problem.
Luke, you gave us a little bit of a disclaimer about how you've been warning parents planning pregnancies to put their plans on hold right now. But for those children already here, what does breathing this kind of air mean for children of Delhi NCR, let's say 10 years from now, as per your analysis?
I'm not a fan of creating fear, especially on a public platform, but it is what it is. I was on a platform where we had top doctors from AIMS and everyone speaking that the risk of cancer is now doubled, probably tenfold. For these children, for adults, for senior citizens, it's crazy. There's already cancer in our country. And this is going to get worse and worse. Respiratory problems, COPD, emphysema, all of these problems are going to be tenfold or even 20-fold because air is something that, you see, ma'am, you and I can do without food and water for a couple of days and nothing's going to happen to us. But we will not live without air for more than 3 to 4 minutes. It's a lifeline. It's a lifeline, and that's why we say this is a public health emergency, and it's not getting the kind of urgency that it needs. I know there are problems on both sides, the government and the people. It's never going to be one person who can solve the problem, but it's not been given the kind of, because I know they're pulling it onto March, and everyone will forget everything in March right up till October, and it hits us again, and we'll probably be talking about this again next year.
Look, we don't have too much time, but very quickly, I do have a couple of questions. The one thing that people ask, and this is why we see a lot of people not masking up still, that's one thing that you've been asking people to do. So the question that's being asked is, does wearing a mask outdoors actually help, or does it give people a false sense of security? How
No, it
much
absolutely
does it
helps. It helps, and that's why masks were instructed by doctors during COVID to be used. Okay, it limits exposure. We're not talking about 100% limiting, but it helps. It helps. I know children who are wearing masks to school who have reduced their symptoms by only wearing their mask. Now, you can't wear the mask continuously. So when you're in a clean environment, you remove the mask. If you're in a toxic environment, you put the mask back on. So it does play a role, maybe not 100%, but something is better than nothing.
And recently you've called the pollution levels in the national capital a national health emergency. You've also made an appeal to the Prime Minister. What do you best hope from people in power right now, Luke?
I hope for people to, I don't expect an immediate change. It's impossible in a country this big, and it's impossible, I'll be honest, with, people who are so busy pulling down one another. But I am hopeful for a plan that if it's not effective in the first year, it should start to be effective in the second, third, or fourth year. But I am very, very hopeful that the government starts to make some very difficult decisions of, encouraging work from home right now, moving schools online. I know this comes with repercussions, but for me, health is more important. There's no point of losing your health over not making these rules. So these are immediate things that I expect the government to do, and I expect the government to be on the same page. You can't have pollution being called out by part of the government and then the environmental department saying, oh, it has no connection with disease. That's like making a mockery of the Indian public and what our rights are. So I'm hoping that there is some change that comes out of all of these things, but it's never going to be the government alone. It has to be the people, and the first level of government, which I believe requires the largest change right now.
Well, speaking of the people and everything we've been witnessing online on social media, as mentioned by you, both online and offline, is also the Aravali's debate. So the Supreme Court judgment has sparked this huge conversation, Luke. Very quickly, if Aravalis are weakened, are we basically signing up for worse air in Delhi NCR? Because that's one thing people are complaining of as this judgment has come about.
100%. 100%. Around the world, people are trying to combat pollution by planting more trees and by safeguarding their water bodies and what they already have as gifts from nature. And here, even if it's a small percentage, it's going to have a ripple butterfly effect, not just in Delhi, but across all the other places around. I think I have to say it today. If humans don't value life, we don't care about our environment. And that's what we're seeing in India right now. There is no value for life, and hence there is no care for the environment.
There's a lot of if and buts there, and that's a story we're tracking very closely here on CNN News 18. Thank you so much, Luke, though, for that wonderful conversation and for coming in with brilliant ideas always to protect ourselves in this kind of time of crisis. Thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.